Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kelly Schumann. I am the academic advisor for the School of Nursing, and this meeting is for CSD and nursing majors. And today I'm representing the College of Health and Behavioral Studies. I'm going to share a great deal of information with you very quickly today, but you will have an opportunity to ask questions. So I want to explain to you just kind of how we would like for you to do that, to make sure that we see all your questions and are able to answer them all. In your Zoom window, you should see a Q&A feature. If you look, for most people, I think it's at the bottom of your screen, and it will say Q&A. You can type your questions in there anytime during this presentation. And we have some help from some folks in the Office of Orientation that may be able to answer some questions in writing in that window. And then I will answer questions at the end after I've presented all the information. Any questions that couldn't be answered by someone else in that written window, I'll make sure that we try to get to as many of those as possible, because we want to make sure that we give you whatever information you are looking for today. So I'm going to start just by sharing with you a little bit about the College of Health and Behavioral Studies. You'll hear us frequently using acronyms at JMU if you haven't already. And one of those for us in the College of Health and Behavioral Studies is CHBS. CHBS is how we refer to our college very frequently. So if you hear us talk about majors in CHBS, the dean of CHBS, the dean's office, that sort of thing, those things are within the College of Health and Behavioral Studies. We always like to share the mission, visions, and values of every area, every college, every major, because these things are very important to us at JMU. You are probably, hopefully, familiar with JMU's mission at this point, because it should have been presented to you in all different formats in your time as you are preparing to become a JMU student for the first time. But we always like to share with you the College of Health and Behavioral Studies mission and show you how it aligns with what JMU's mission is. Engagement is extremely important to JMU on campus and off. And for CHBS students, that's also very important, and for staff and faculty as well. I won't read this to you, but I do want you to kind of notice the words in there, words like engaging students, faculties, and communities. And then responsible contributors to our world. We are engaging our students regularly. We're going to talk about engagement today and how you are engaged as a CHBS student. First, we're going to start with something that affects all JMU students, and that is the foundation of our general education program. And also, let me apologize, please, for my voice. I apologize. I definitely do not typically sound like this. It's been quite an allergy season this year, and I've been battling this all summer, and doctors are trying to figure it all out. So I apologize if I'm difficult to understand. Hopefully that you can understand everything you need to, but feel free to ask me to repeat things or ask questions in the Q&A. Our general education program at JMU is something we're very proud of. It provides our students with a liberal arts foundation. Part of the reason that this is so very valuable, especially for students in CSD and nursing, in my opinion, is that we're going to teach you a lot of the things that you need for your clinical application as a CSD or nursing degree receiving student. But one of the things that is extremely valuable in being a really good healthcare provider or healthcare worker is being able to have a well-rounded perspective of the world, critical thinking skills, writing skills, communication skills. Those are all things that are invaluable in the fields that you are going into as students and as new healthcare providers and workers. And our Liberal Arts Foundation really provides that for you, helps you to build on those skills. So as you go into your schedule planning, I know sometimes students say things to me like, I don't understand why I have to take this class in history or this class in critical thinking or this writing class. I really want to focus on anatomy because I want to be a nurse. Those classes that we're asking you to take in those areas are just as valuable because they're going to give you skills that make you better at what you do. Let's talk about the degree requirements. A number that I always like to make sure that every student is aware of and that you kind of hold on to the whole time is 120. 120 is the number of credits that every student must earn in order to receive a degree from James Madison University, regardless of your major, regardless of your college, regardless of your degree, you must have a minimum of 120 credits. Most students are going to have more than 120 credits. But if you do not have 120 credits, you cannot receive your degree. The pie chart you see here kind of breaks down for you what a typical degree looks like. Now, in a minute, I'm going to show you how that's different specifically for nursing majors. So don't get too attached to this pie chart if you're a nursing major. That's going to change just a little bit. But basically, the 4 parts of the pie chart are going to be the same regardless of your degree, but how big those pieces of the pie will be different. Everyone completes the general education programming. Most of the general education credits can be completed in 41 credit hours, as many as 43, but usually students in a 41 credit hour chunk. That gold piece of the pie is your major. Every major is different and has a different number of requirements. We're going to talk specifically about CSD and nursing and how that gold piece of the pie looks different. Every student has some degree requirements or supporting courses. A couple of terms you're going to hear me use for nursing majors, that light purple piece of the pie, you're going to hear me refer to that as prerequisites, because you have some prerequisite courses that you need to take in order to be successful in your major, and those go within your degree requirements. For CSD majors, you're going to hear me talk about cognates and degree requirements, and I'll show you what those are in a minute. And then everyone has some electives in order to get to that 120, because if you look at this, if your major is only 44 credits, your general education program is only 41 credits, and then your degree requirements are only 6 to 18, that doesn't get you to 120. And many students have to take electives in order to get to that 120. But those electives don't necessarily mean that you're just randomly taking elected courses. For some students, it does. For some students, your major is demanding, your gen ed is demanding, and you just want to take a couple of courses that you love and that you want to explore. For most students, though, that electives piece of the pie is used for a minor or for exploring different areas that will help you with certifications or licensures later. So this is a better breakdown of the difference between what a CSD major's pie looks like and what a BSN and nursing major's pie looks like. On the left, you'll see the BA, BS, and BSW. BSW stands for Bachelor of Social Work. Social work is a department that is within CHBS. But as CSD majors, you will have the option to select either a BA or a BS degree. The Bachelor of Arts degree includes that foreign language piece of the puzzle. The BS degree is the Bachelor of Science degree, and that includes additional math and science credits that are above and beyond your minimum general education and major requirements. So depending on which of those degrees you choose, you'll either take foreign languages or you'll take additional math and science. And that's going to be in that degree requirements piece of the pie for you, along with some cognate courses that are required by CSD to help you be successful in your major. And I'll show you those here in a moment. But as a CSD major, you'll see the elective or minor pieces of your pie are much larger. So you have a lot of space in there, because when you add up what your major is requiring, what your general education requirements are, and what your degree requirements are, you still have a lot of space. So many of our CSD majors choose to pick up a minor. For some students, that minor is in things like language, because you're already earning a BA and you want to take additional foreign language, or because you're going to work as a speech language pathologist and you want to have additional language skills. For some students, it's a special education minor. It just depends on your goals and your path, and your advisor can help you select what fits you best. It could be pre-professional health. You see those listed at the bottom. Now on the right, you see the BSN. The Bachelor of Science in Nursing is a unique degree that is only for nursing majors. That pie looks very different. And the big difference is that gold major part of the pie. Your major as a nursing student is 61 credits. That's over half of your 120 required credits for graduation. That's a lot. So it doesn't leave you a lot of space for that minor or those electives. The supporting courses piece of the pie is also larger, because there are 7 to 9 prerequisite courses that you need to take as a nursing major to prepare for nursing school. Some of those count towards your general education program. Some of them do not. They're in addition to your general education program. So that does make your little elective sliver kind of small. It doesn't mean you can't have a minor. Many nursing majors have minors. But you need to plan very early if a minor is something that you're interested in, and communicate that very clearly with your advisor so that you're on the right track to make sure that you're spacing that out across the time that you have before entering the BSN program. So to give you some perspective on the College of Health and Behavioral Studies, or CHBS as I'm referring to it, these are the majors that are housed within the college. Something that I think sometimes is just really helpful to understand if you're not super familiar with the lingo of college or university or higher education, is that James Madison University is a university. So we think of that as a big umbrella, right? The big university umbrella. Under that giant JMU umbrella, there are 6 colleges. Each college is a slightly smaller umbrella. And under each of those colleges are all the departments or majors with even smaller umbrellas. So James Madison University is the university. CHBS is your college. Within your college, there are all of these majors. So these are students that you will frequently be working with on things like interprofessional education, simulations, and activities and things throughout your time as a JMU student. In addition to housing all of those majors, CHBS operates multiple institutes and centers. And here's a list of some of those. IIHHS, that's a lot of letters. The Institute for Innovation in Health and Human Services is one you'll all hear about. IIHHS has lots of community resources housed within it that is staffed by faculty and staff of CHBS and other parts of the university, and also often by students. You see some lists here, for example, the Gus Bus, that's an educational program that is a mobile, it's kind of like a mobile library and reading and literacy program that travels into the community and helps students from underrepresented populations have access to reading materials and reading education. The Suitcase Clinic for the Homeless is something that actively involves nursing majors, especially our graduate students. That is exactly what it sounds like. It is a clinic operated from suitcases that travels to homeless shelters in our community to provide healthcare, using some of our PA students, our occupational therapy students, our nursing students. So several of our different programs within CHBS participate in this to provide services that are much needed in the homeless community. There are other things here. I won't read all of them, but you as CSD and nursing majors will have an opportunity to volunteer with several of these programs. So I would encourage you to visit some of these websites that you see here to see if there are things that might be appealing to you to get involved with. I apologize, I have to drink a lot of water so I don't sound so bad. We talk about engagement in every avenue at JMU. CHBS is definitely no exception to that. As a college, we are naturally a very engaged college. Our students are participating in clinical activities. Those clinical activities are engaged not just on campus, but in many areas of our community, close and far away. You'll see, if you tour through our health and behavioral studies building, you'll see labs that are just amazing. CSD students, you have these soundproof labs that you can go into where you can't hear anything outside of the lab and the people outside of the lab can't hear anything, but you have like glass that you can see through them. They're really cool. Nursing majors have simulation and skills lab and health assessments labs, access to really amazing equipment, but also engaging in our community in clinical and field placements. All of you will have some sort of field placement or clinical placement experience at some point that will engage you, not just in Harrisonburg, but oftentimes in the wider community. Some other ways that you can be engaged academically are study abroad and research. If those are things that you're interested in, as an undergraduate student, please make sure you're communicating that with your academic advisor and faculty members that you're building relationships with so that you can get involved in those things early. So let's start for just a moment and focus on CSD. This is the mission of the Communication Sciences and Disorders Department. It is very similar in that it always uses the word engagement. CSD students are highly engaged, not just in clinical work, but also in research. Many of our faculty members have done significant research in the areas surrounding CSD and often involve undergraduate students in that. We also have clinics on campus. There's, and actually I think you'll see a slide here in a few minutes that lists some of those, but there are speech language clinics on our campus where students are engaged in clinical work with community members. Our CSD program at JMU is pretty unique in that it offers almost every program, if not every program, that a CSD program can offer undergraduate and graduate. It's important to keep in perspective, you'll hear this multiple times, that the CSD degree prepares students primarily for graduate programs. At JMU, we actually offer all of these graduate programs. Not many institutions offer all of the master's, all of the AUD and the PhD and the research programs. But as an undergraduate student at JMU, completing the CSD degree, you'll be a competitive candidate to apply to these programs and other graduate programs at other institutions if you choose to. This is kind of an overview of what your undergraduate curriculum looks like in just a different format. I showed you that pie before. This is kind of the same thing, just with a breakdown of actual credit numbers to give you some perspective on how your degree is broken down. And then this is a list of some of those CSD courses and cognates that you need to have. The ones with the stars beside them have what we call at JMU progression standards. As a CSD major, especially because you're preparing most of you to apply to graduate programs, you know that you have to have strong grades in all of your courses, a strong overall cumulative GPA. But in particular, the courses that you see here that are starred have standards in which if you do not meet a minimum grade, you cannot move forward in your major. So you're going to want to make sure you've done your research and you understand these classes, what it takes to get the grades that you need to make sure you're making satisfactory progress in your major. As I mentioned before, the CSD degree prepares students to pursue graduate school in many different areas. You can look at speech language pathology, audiology, research. There are many, many options for you as a CSD student for what you want to pursue later on in your graduate degree. Now, that's not to say that with an undergraduate degree, you can't be employed as a CSD major. You see here that you could be employed as a practice assistant with a bachelor's degree in several different places, public and private school settings, healthcare settings, private practices. But it gives you an excellent background for things like special education or deaf education or pre-med, pre-dentistry, different things like that. So that's why so many CSD majors pick up a minor in something that gives them other career options in addition to all of these graduate programs. If you are interested in education or special education, if you're interested in medicine of some sort, that's a great way to spend that extra big chunk of the pie for electives, is to pursue a minor in one of those things to widen your options for later on. Once you pursue the graduate degree, if you pursue one of these graduate degrees in CSD, look at this list of places that you could work. I think that's one of the coolest things for me about CSD. You know, I primarily work with nursing majors, but over the time I've been here and worked with our CSD folks within the college, I've learned a lot about what speech language pathologists do and where they do it and where audiologists might work and what kind of research CSD majors do. And it gives you such a wide variety of options. The world really does become your oyster when you finish that graduate degree for a CSD program. We talk a lot about being engaged academically in your clinicals, your labs, those kinds of things. But one of the things we want to make sure that we also remind every student of is that it's very important to also be a well-rounded human being and student. And part of that is getting involved in student organizations, volunteering, providing service, things like that. So here's a list of some of the suggested things that are specific to the interest of a CSD major. You don't have to be a CSD major to be involved in these things, most of them, but except for the National Student Language Hearing Association, that is a CSD organization, state and nationally. But as a CSD major, this might be a great place to start. You're going to go to student org night in that first week of classes, and there are going to be hundreds of things in that room to choose from. And it can be very overwhelming to look at all of that and to wonder where to start or how many things you can commit to. So I always recommend to CSD and nursing majors that the first student org that you join is your own student major organization. And for CSD majors, that's the JMU National Student Language Hearing Association. I would recommend that on the first student org night, you connect with them, get signed up to get information from them, and consider participating in their activities. It's going to help you network with people in your major, with faculty in your major. It's going to give you an opportunity to connect and network with faculty who are doing research in the areas that you're interested in, maybe even to connect with study groups and mentors within your major. So I really recommend that one straight out of the gates. But there are also some other really wonderful things here and throughout the student orgs page that you could get involved in to make sure that you're active and you're connected and you're building relationships. All right, let's switch gears for just a moment to the nursing major. The Bachelor of Science in Nursing prepares students to take the nationally normed board exam that we refer to as the NCLEX. The NCLEX is a national licensure exam for registered nurses. And so you can take that test when you graduate in any state that you choose to take it in. There are resources throughout the BSN program once you're admitted that prepare you for taking that test. The NCLEX pass rate for us here at JMU over the last year was 94% on the first attempt. That's very good. So we are preparing you well once you're admitted to the BSN program to be successful on that test. And we're very confident in your ability to do so. It is designed as a 4-year program, but what's really important for all nursing majors to understand at any university or institution that has a school of nursing is that it is different for every person. Your trajectory for when you finish the BSN degree depends on many, many things. It depends on what transfer credits you may or may not have brought in. It depends on your math placement test. It depends on how successful you are in your prerequisites. And it is a competitive application process, which means that when you apply, you could do all of those things very well, but so could everyone else. And there are only 113 seats each semester in the fall and the spring. So it is possible that you will not be admitted at the time that you first hope to be admitted to the program, and that you may need to add an additional semester in order to complete that degree. It's also possible that some of you will apply early and be admitted earlier than you expected. So it's important for you to be having one-on-one conversations with your advisor about your timeline and your plan and what works best for you, because each person is different. Starting with the fall 2024 application, there are going to be new admission standards to the School of Nursing. If you came to Choices, you've already heard about these, or you probably heard about them in the news or social media or on our website. You have access to all of this on our website. Right now, we have a set of standards that I'll show you in a few minutes for the students who are currently applying into the BSN program that is different than what you are seeing on this screen. So it's important that you know there are two different pieces here. For the traditional incoming first-year student who is entering JMU this fall, most of you are going to be prepared to apply to nursing school in fall of 2024, so that you can enter nursing school fall of 2025. You apply a year before you want to start. And then in that semester, while you're waiting on your application, you finish up your gen eds, your prereqs, and all your other required courses. So for those of you who are on that traditional, hoping to do that 4-year trajectory from this fall, these are the admission standards that you will be facing as you apply to nursing school. There will still only be 113 students admitted each semester. That first fall application is due December 1st, with transcripts due January 11th. The criteria are what you see here. You must be a JMU student, a nursing major, have completed a full-time semester at JMU, 36 completed credit hours. You must have a C- or higher in all prerequisite courses, But in addition to that, your prerequisite GPA must also be a 3.0. So if you have C minuses in all of your prerequisites, you're not going to meet that 3.0 standard. So it's important that you understand both of those. There are also some additional experiences and attributes that are being considered in the application process. In addition to an essay that every student will need to complete, that is 250 words or less. Here are some of the prerequisite courses that this shows you what courses need to be completed to apply. So that's the other thing that's important to understand for a nursing major, is that your advisor is recommending a set of classes for you in the fall based on your trajectory to apply to nursing school, because certain classes need to be completed before other ones in order to stay on track. So it's important that you're working with them and that you're communicating with them and that you're listening to them when they're explaining to you the order in which things need to be taken. You do not need to take all of the prerequisite courses before you apply. In fact, we strongly recommend against that. That's way too stressful of a schedule for a first-year student. We want you to be successful, and you need to be successful to be competitive. You need to have really strong grades in these courses. So taking them a few at a time is the best way to pace yourself and give yourself the best chance of being successful for admission to the program. I think it's also important. I'm a parent. I'm sending my daughter to college in the fall. I like to understand differential tuition when it is required. Nursing majors do have differential tuition. Differential tuition of $90 per credit hour is charged only to courses that have NSG as their prefix. This is important. Oftentimes there's some confusion and people think because we require biology courses that they have to pay differential tuition. That is not the case. Bio classes are bio classes governed by the biology department. Only NSG courses have that $90 per credit hour differential tuition. So for most nursing majors, that will be 61 credits for which you pay that. Some students take additional nursing electives, and if you do that, there will be differential tuition attached to those additional NSG classes, but you will take a minimum of 61 credit hours that are NSG with differential tuition. What that pays for, I think, is incredibly valuable and valuable for you to understand where that money goes. That money goes directly to providing your students and you as students with the resources you need to be successful in the clinical setting. Our simulation labs, if you have ever seen them, are beyond state of the art. They provide students with an opportunity for a very realistic clinical experience. In addition to that, every student gets an equipment kit, a lab coat, their first set of uniforms, and an iPad that is issued to you by us to use for all of your testing, for all of your charting in your clinical setting, and for many other things that you'll do throughout your last 2 years as a BSN student. So all of those things, all that money goes directly into making sure that we're providing students with what they need to be prepared as nurses in the clinical setting, and also to be prepared to take that NCLEX and be successful at it. And so I mentioned before that there's a different set of admission standards for students who are applying right now. It's important for you to know these exist, because for those of you who are coming in with an associate's degree or a large number of credits of transfer, you may be applying early. If you are choosing to apply early to the BSN program, then your admission standards are different. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on these because they don't affect a lot of students, but I want you to see them. Excuse me, I also want you to know they are on our website. If you go to nursing.jmu.edu and you click on the BSN program and admissions, you can see the 2 different sets of admission criteria to make sure you understand them. Anyone who is applying, filling out the application before fall of 2024 will be subject to these admission criteria. These are very specific. They are very, very much grade-based. So it's important that you have taken these classes if you want to apply early by the end of the semester in which you want to apply. If you think this affects you, please make sure you're communicating with your advisor right away. BSN program curriculum, just to give you an overview. The very big difference between CSD major and the nursing major is that the CSD students, you folks will take some of your gen eds and some of your major courses throughout all 4 years of your time as a JMU student. As a nursing major, you will take all of your gen eds, prereqs, and electives in the first 2 years, all of your nursing classes in the last 2 years. You won't be taking any general education courses in those last 4 semesters because your schedule will be prescribed. Your classes, your professors, your meeting times, and all of your clinicals will be selected by the School of Nursing and assigned. So you will have a full schedule and you will not be able to complete any gen eds. So for those of you who are thinking, okay, well, I have all these prerequisites, I want to apply a little early to the nursing program, also keep in perspective that if you do that, you have to also be able to complete all your gen eds before you start that program, unless you want to spend your summers taking full semesters of gen eds. So make sure you're very knowledgeable about what the gen eds are and what you still need. But once you get into the program, it's 4 semesters. This is what it looks like. It's a variety of both lecture and lab courses. In addition to that, you see which classes have clinicals. There are some unique ways to get involved. In addition to what you're already doing as clinicals, this is a list of some of them. I talked about the homeless suitcase clinic. In addition to that, I'll just point out a couple of things. The Virginia Nursing Student Association, or NSA, as we call it in the School of Nursing, is the organization I would strongly recommend that you join right away. It gives you an opportunity to be assigned to a mentor, to meet faculty members, to learn about what's happening in the School of Nursing, to build study groups and find tutors and all of the things that really help you network among other nursing majors. It gives you a sense of belonging to a program that it will take you some time to be a part of. And so sometimes that's a great way to connect early. So I definitely recommend NSA for students. In addition to that, we have our own diversity club. We have an honor society once you're admitted to the nursing program that you can apply to or be inducted into. There are some great ways to volunteer that you see here on the left. If you are thinking about a study abroad as a nursing major, that's something you need to be discussing right away with your advisor, because as I showed you before, you don't have a ton of space in there. CSD majors, you have a great deal of space that you could use for a whole semester abroad if you wanted. Nursing majors typically cannot manage a semester abroad unless they want to add a semester to their time at JMU. So what we do as a School of Nursing is we offer a wide variety of summer opportunities for study abroad for nursing students specifically, but there are ways for you to do a semester if you plan very carefully. So just make sure you're communicating early. So now we're going to step out of the major. We're going to hop back into the college itself. Before I do that, I want to answer a question that was specific to nursing that was in the Q&A, if that's okay. Will Chem 120 from dual enrollment count, and will it work towards grad school if a student wants to get their APRN? So anything that JMU's registrar deems as an equivalent, a transfer equivalent credit, will be accepted by the School of Nursing to meet prerequisites and will be accepted equally. I cannot speak to as to whether graduate schools will always allow you to use that for their programs. What I can say to you is that most graduate programs are going to want you to have a chemistry with a lab. So our Chem 120 does not require a lab. The community college one does. But in addition to that, many graduate schools want you to have your sciences from a 4-year university. So if you don't have that, you're going to want to be doing your research early before you apply to those graduate programs to find out what you might need to make sure that you've met the requirements for whichever programs you want to apply to, because every institution has their own rules. Another question in here is, will JMU have a med school soon? I'm not aware of any plans for there to be a medical school at JMU, but that wouldn't necessarily involve me because as the nursing advisor and a member of CHBS, that's not something that I work directly with because nursing majors are not preparing to go to medical school. So I would not be aware of that. That may be a question to ask someone within the admissions office potentially. All right, so let's talk about being successful as a CHBS student and a JMU student. We know from lots of research that one of the most important ways to be successful is to be connected and to build relationships. When you build relationships, you build connections and you feel at home. And when you feel at home, you feel safer, you feel more comfortable, and you feel more successful. And so we want you to be well-rounded students. As CSD and nursing majors, There's a lot of risk in being so academically focused and so worried about making sure you're on the right academic trajectory that you forget to be a human being. And we don't want that for you. We want you to have friends. We want you to build relationships with people. We want you to be involved in student organizations. We just want you to do it wisely. And so we also at JMU have encouraged students regularly to build relationships, not just with each other, but also with your faculty and staff in your departments and in your classes. The faculty at JMU are some of the most welcoming and encouraging people I've ever worked with. They choose to be faculty. Most of these people, especially in fields like CSD and nursing, could be out there in their fields working as clinicians and making a whole lot more money. They are not here for the money. They're here for the students. And they want to know you. They want to build relationships with you. They want to support you. But you have to reach out to them, and they want you to do that. So please go to office hours, go to past sessions and meet TAs. And if your department is holding an event that allows you to socialize with other people and other faculty and staff, make sure you're taking advantage of those opportunities. Balance your fun with your learning in a healthy way, because we want you to be balanced. We want you to have fun, but we also want you to be successful academically, and finding that for yourselves at this young age can be very challenging. I know I just said I'm sending my daughter off to college this year, with all sorts of anxiety about whether she's going to find that balance. And I just hope that you will reach out to us if you need support in finding it. Sit down with your advisor if you're struggling to find your balance, to find your place, to feel like you belong, or to decrease your anxiety and stress level of being a nursing or CSD major. Come to us. Let us help you work through that. Some great resources that you should all be aware of. Past sessions are something that CSD and nursing majors in particular will encounter, because past sessions are primarily in science courses, biology, chemistry, some math, but mostly biology and chemistry. Do peer-assisted study sessions, which I said earlier are past sessions. These are student-led tutoring sessions that are totally free. The student is a TA who has been successful in that professor's class before and sits in the class with you, and then holds sessions sometimes at night, sometimes on the weekends, at times that are convenient for students, for you to go and ask questions and hear information, be retaught from a different perspective. In addition to that, the learning centers, Science and Math Learning Center, University Writing Center, and English Language Learner Center or services are all accessible to you for free. These are the University Writing Center and Science and Math Learning can be cafe style. University Writing Center actually is such a great resource because you can have someone review your papers before you turn them into your professor for free. You can do that anytime you're working on a paper or a project. The Science and Math Learning Center allows you to just come in, sit down at a table, work on your statistics or your chemistry or whatever you're working on, and there's a tutor who's circulating to help you. It's a wonderful resource and totally free. Please take advantage of it. In addition to that, the Career Center provides and services and supports students who are kind of looking for career directions. Maybe you know you're really interested in this area, but you're not 100% convinced where you're going with it. That's a great resource, but they also help students prepare for interviews and internships and that kind of stuff. The Counseling Center is a resource for all of our students. You will have telehealth options and in-person options. If you are struggling with the transition, with loneliness, with pre-diagnosed mental health concerns, or not pre-diagnosed mental health concerns, please reach out. Seek this private resource that is confidential to you and can provide you with the support you need to feel and be successful. If you are a student who has been previously diagnosed with a disability that affects learning, or you believe that you may have a disability that affects learning, then I strongly recommend you reach out to ODS early. There are great ways they can help support you to help you get accommodations in your classes. It takes time for that paperwork to be processed and for it to get out to your faculty members. So don't wait. If you think that you're going to even consider using disability services, please contact them early, meet with them early, and start talking about what accommodations are best for you. Time will fly, and before you know it, it will be done. Your parents can contest to this if they're sitting with you watching this. Yesterday, they felt like you were starting high school, and now all of a sudden you're leaving home and going to college. It's going to go fast. So take a deep breath and try to enjoy and make the most out of every moment while you're here. If you run into issues or questions, here are some resources for you, people that you can reach out to. My information is here. Dr. Sutherland is our clinical coordinator, Dr. Robinson, our associate director, and Dr. Eaton, our director. Those are all School of Nursing resources. Dr. Rout is the academic unit head for CSD. So if you have questions about your major specifically that you don't feel like I was able to answer, please reach out to him. He welcomes your communication. If you have any additional questions, you can put those in the Q&A now, and I'll try to answer those in the last couple minutes that we have. This is actually, so the question has been asked, where can we find the information that is in these slideshows if we want to refer back to them in the future? I'm going to ask Rob, who's here with us from the Office of Orientation, to answer that question, because I do not know the answer to that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we are actually recording today's sessions, and they should be sent out to students following today's virtual sessions. So those should be available. If you're not able to find them, just feel free to contact the Orientation and Transition Office, and we can get them over to you.
So the question has been asked, can nursing majors have a pre-med minor? The answer to that question is no, not unless a student wants to stay at least a full additional year at JMU. The nursing major does not prepare students to apply to medical school. Our math and our science courses are very different. It prepares students to practice as a nurse. And when you graduate, you have to practice as a nurse. You don't have the courses that you need to prepare for med school, and you don't have the hands-on the experience that you need that med school specifically asks for you to apply and be competitive. So if a student is interested in pre-med, then I recommend that they look at another major that provides them with the opportunity to take the right math and science courses to prepare for that trajectory. Many students who do pre-med major in health sciences, biology, chemistry, or kinesiology. So those may be options if a student is specifically interested in pre-med. And then someone's asked, so will I have to apply to the BSN every semester? You apply when you're ready, and you can apply as many times as you choose to until you get in or until you decide to do something else. So if you don't get in the first time you apply, you can reapply the very next semester. Can a student change their major from nursing to CSD at this point in time? Rob, do you know what the process is right now for making a major change?
Yeah, just email the Office of Orientation Transition, and we can get you connected to the correct advising office, so you can go ahead and make that change.
All right. That's all the questions I see in the Q&A, and our time is just about up. So thank you all for joining us. I appreciate you being here. I look forward to getting to know as many of you as possible when you come to JMU in August. Enjoy the rest of your summer.